Hello? All right, cool. Yeah, yeah. Took a second, but here we go. Okay, my glasses. We got two cameras going. Sorry about that. Totally forgot. I have an audio thing, but I'm talking. You can see that Josh is in the blue on the main camera from far away, looking at the corner where they're doing the food and the meet and greet. He's doing a short lecture on food, or not food, planting. Right now he's talking about compost. So give me a second. He's talking. Interrupt him a second. Is it slow? Yeah, I should. It's kinda- let's see.
We're talking about compost. So that's kind of my spiel on the plants and whatnot. Um, before I go any further, do you guys have any questions?
Just checking the mic. Looks like we got a question going on.
The tomato plants in there, or do I do seeds?
You can do transplant. So transplants are really easy. They're kind of expensive though. If you do seeds, you could, but if you're gonna mulch it, so depending on the seed variety, um, it might struggle. So transplants are, I guess, they're ideal. You can still do seeds. It'll just take a little longer. Other than the garden, actually on top of the mulch, I just sprinkled radish, spinach, beet, and there's some growing. But transplants are the way to go, but they are expensive. Tomatoes they're
Can you hear
expensive,
me?
and so because they take about they need ideal conditions, indoor, grow light, temperature, and that's why when you go to the store, they're like $8. You can learn about starting seed. Is um,
Is the wind too loud? I'm trying to talk to my wife to make sure the audio is working. That was here, but it isn't. Now, let's see if she can hear me. The audio might be a little delayed. It was a little late getting here and setting up. But we got a question and answer thing going on. I'm just trying to make sure that the audio works. Trying to get confirmation that people can hear me talking or anybody. Hello? Hello? Okay, cool. That's awesome. And that I can keep on using it. I'm gonna do the Josh for a second. But my audio is connected to my phone. It's pretty. Yeah.
yes. Sometimes well, hard water isn't that. But like if you have hard water, you have hard water, but it's just the additives such as chlorine that harm plants. So you mountain water, spring water, that it's not as good as rainwater, but it's still good. It's better than municipal water.
So that would do the thing.
Oh. Oh, okay. You guys.
You have any questions about history? Find her.
This close to it so they can.
So she's not talking. It's
They're connected. Yeah, they're connected. It's broadcast
a lot of
this,
history, which I
but you can keep it in your
have
pocket.
little knowledge. The land that the original pass is the Bahia Jahabatu. It was the pass of the lands. So she probably has a lot more information about that, but at some point we want to reintroduce our original Charles sheet kit. So that's our plan is part of that because they're very good for the land also because their little hoofs get in to irrigate like that, and then their poop helps to put good soil back. So that's why we're going to reintroduce that at some point here. So that's one of the plans, one of the bigger plans. So that's also another teaching area that we need churls or just livestock in general. So, but you have any? I just want to thank them for keeping this land for many generations, her family. So I think probably her grandfather. I believe he prayed on this land. So it's it was there for like the family. We're very thankful. And hopefully we're not trampling on things.
Okay, thank you, Alta. Any other questions? All right, guys. Well, I guess here let's do we can get up and we can kind of start walking around and I'll talk about what plans could be for this site. What I want to do, but I don't know if it will happen, but I think so we can all get up and we'll kind of slowly make our way around and we can go to the garden and we can continue by the compost. Oh, and if you need any water stuff, it's right over here. Help yourself. Yeah, perfectly taste of water, right? All right, we'll start with like a 5-minute break. Oh, yeah, we'll find a table and we have foil and everything, we have bowls, so we have plates. You want to try the dartboard? We'll probably do some down there.
I can't wait. We have our own garden, but the only thing is the crazy elks got in and they. Yeah.
I just rabbits and prairie dogs.
That's perfect.
Sorry. Compost. No, just oh, was it in here? But I could probably put it in here. Some more guys. It's in the door. Yeah, I could probably put it over there. Yeah, let me set it up. Okay. I'll probably put it. Yeah. Huh? Oh, yeah.
There's a button there. If you click it, it mutes it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think
it's
I
okay.
pressed it when I put it on my again.
Yeah, just
Okay.
yeah.
All right. pH. So where I live, I have an 8.5 pH. I would recommend do a soil test. I got a kit off Amazon for $30. How it works is they send you a little like a lunch bag, and you just take samples of your soil of where you want to plant, and you can specify what you want to plant. It'll ask you want to plant grass, you want to plant trees, you want to plant roses, and then you specify a square footage of your area where you want to plant, and then you will take soil samples from that area and you mail it in 2-3 weeks they give you results of what's in your soil. So I did that for my yard. I did an orchard 1,000 square feet, but I chose soil from my whole acre of where I want to garden. And when I did it, I got the results. It said 8.5 pH, which is really, really high. I have organic matter was 0.67. There's virtually no life in the soil. It's like chalk. And I have 8 times as much calcium as a regular garden would have. And so that's really high. So there's ways to fix it. One way could be the living compost. But if you really want to like give a kickstart to your plants, then you can add additives. If you have really alkaline soil, you can add acidic amendments. Sulfur, they sell pellets in Home Depot, Holiday Nursery, and Gallup. Straight sulfur, it will lower your pH of your soil, but it takes time because it's the bacteria in the soil that break down the sulfur into sulfates, which will lower pH. So that takes a year minimum, and then it's a long progress. Another amendment is peat moss. They sell bales of it at the stores. Peat moss is very acidic, a 4.0. So on when I say 4.0, 5.5, 6.0, all that means is 6 is neutral. So if you go from a 6 to a 7, that means your soil is 10 times more alkaline. But if you go from a 7 to an 8, it's 100 times more alkaline. So it's like what's that word called to the square? In multiples of 10. So if a plant likes a 5.0 acidity, they like their soil 100 times more acidic than neutral soil. So peat moss is about a 4.0, 4.5. So if you have very high pH, like I have an 8.5, if I add peat moss to my soil, that acidity, that alkalinity, it'll almost cancel each other out, and I'll get neutral soil again. However, peat moss is kind of frowned upon in the gardening community because it's a non-renewable resource. There's bogs in Canada that are irreplaceable, and they're being dredged, dried up, and for use of peat moss. So some people will use it. I'll use it, but sparingly. I'm not going to throw peat moss everywhere. But if I plant a tree, like a very expensive tree, I will add like half a bale with peat moss just to give my tree some help to help lower that pH. But I try not to use it. But you don't have to use it. You could use really good living compost to help start lowering your pH, because those bacteria, those microbes, they will start lowering the pH. But it'll take time. But pH is the biggest issue that we deal with out here in the Southwest. Salt in the soil as well. But I guess getting back to here, the garden, how it was planted, I was talking about pine needles. So pine needles, again, are great mulch. They're harder to come by if you go to the mountains, but pine needles is slightly acidic. So as it's decomposing, it is lowering the pH gradually. Now, when I was talking about if you can add peat moss to your soil, that will bring down your pH, but eventually it's going to want to creep back up. It's just the natural order. It's going to want to keep going back to my 8.5 because I don't get enough rainfall. So that's where you kind of come into planting plants that are adapted to your area. So if you want roses are not really native to where we are. You can grow roses, but it would be an ongoing process to keep your soil pH lower. You would have to keep amending it every year, adding sulfur or just compost. It'll keep it lower. There's some plants that won't really grow here. It's hard. Blueberries like a 5.0. They like really acidic soil. Strawberries, I love strawberries. I've been trying for years to grow strawberries. They don't get big like this. They're just small. they just struggle here. It's really hard to grow them here. So you want to try to plant things that are local and native to your area. And there's nothing more native to our area than Hopi corn. This, I have not watered this since it started raining. It looks fine. The mulch keeps the moisture in the soil. It is perfectly fine. So like some of my squash and stuff, you can see they wither. They are native, but they require more water. But Hopi corn is very, or Indian corn, it is very adapted to our area. It's usually ready for harvest in about 90 days on average. So if you plant it like early June, it'll be ready by early September. It's drought resistant, it grows really fast, and it can put it with the wind. So I know I love sweet corn, but if you want to try to grow sweet corn in our climate, they require a lot of water, and they get tall, and our winds will just snap them over, and they require like about 120 to 150 days for harvest. So if you live like maybe Shiprock, Chinle, Cuba, you can grow sweet corn. It'll be a little challenging. It's not possible. It's not impossible. But if you live like Winter Rock, where you have a shorter growing season, your corn might not make it to maturity before the frost comes. I think Winter Rock, the frost usually comes the end of September, early October. So that's another thing that's where you got to understand your USDA growing zone. So if you want to figure out your growing zone, you can go to the online Google, just type it in, and there's websites where you can input your zip code or even your address, and it'll tell you your zone. But getting back to the garden, so this corn was planted about 5-6 weeks ago, and it is growing very, very well. So I guess we can kind of transition this way. I can talk more about this here. I am like, okay, I'll say that right now. So got a question. So earlier I was saying one of the top 3 things you want for your soil is to keep it planted, keep it covered. I didn't plant in here, it's just weeds. And I was going to chop them down, but you know what? The weeds are keeping the soil protected. Their roots are actually doing that transfer between the bacteria. So I'm letting them go. But if they get really, really tall, then I will have to mow them down. You could, well, no, so if you pull it, you're disturbing the soil, you're ripping out roots. So there is that activity going on between the roots and the soil. And you really want to avoid that. So right here, these weeds got pretty tall about here. They were similar. On Thursday or Wednesday, I have a weed whacker. I mowed everything down, and I just let it all fall in place. Now all that material, there's a lot of nitrogen in those weeds. They're just going to start decomposing, and it's covering the soil. It's protected. So where I'm walking right now, especially because it hasn't rained, but the soil will be protected. And if we do get a lot of rain, all these roots from the weeds are actually going to hold the soil in place. So it's actually, you're using weeds to the advantage. It's basically an unwanted plant in your yard. Everyone wants that clean looking garden, but it's better to just kind of let nature do its thing. You can see there's kind of weeds everywhere. It's plants I want, and yeah, I will maybe rip it out if I have to, or just mow it down. So in here, all these plants are just by Spirit Farm. They're really awesome. They're helping us. So everything grown in here is natives. There's a lot of squash, pumpkins. What is this? Crookneck squash. Back here's peppers. And this is here I've never grown before. Hopi tobacco. I don't know if it's you try to leave it, smoke it, you roll something in the leaves and smoke it, but that is, yeah. It's tobacco 101. But this one I have never seen this wither from the sun. You can see the squash. It's hot. They need water. Squash needs a lot of water. But this guy, I've never seen him wither. It was a tiny 2-inch tall plant, and it's been 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and it is tall. It's going to get even taller. And even in my garden, my plants, like these have exploded. And it's the soil, it's that compost that we got from Spirit Farm. It's alive. And we're just trying to, again, I'm not weeding a lot. I'm just letting it do it. I'm not here. Here, when you do visit Spirit Farm, weeds all over. And one thing I want to try to cover now is all about what they practice called polycropping. So when you see monocropping, that's when you plant just one of the same plant. Like what they do in farms, they just have rows and rows of a singular plant, whether it be onions, lettuce, and whatnot. That's monocropping. And when you have a lot of the same plants in the same area, their roots grow to the same areas. They'll be competing for nutrients, and if there's a pest that can come through, it could wipe out a lot of your crops. So at Spirit Farm, they do polycropping, where they don't do all one crop. They plant a mixture of everything together. So this is kind of almost like that. There's still a little organization, but they have turnips here, everywhere, sunflowers, you name it. When you go back to the soil biology, like some tomato plants, their roots grow very, very deep. So if you have a different type of plant planted around your tomatoes, they're not competing for water and nutrients. The tomato plant is very happy down here, whereas the other, like carrots, radish, they're higher up. They're fine. They're utilizing all of the nutrients and moisture available in the soil. And certain plants will actually inject in nutrients into the soil as well. So you heard of what's that called? Plants side by side. They help one another. So they benefit. Yes, I know that word. I just couldn't think of it. Companion planting. Some plants do really, really well with that. Off the top of my head, asparagus does grow out here. And strawberries. Although strawberries won't grow right here, asparagus grow 10 inches and deeper, whereas strawberries are more shallow rooted. And strawberries infiltrate a lot of carbs into the soil, which again the bacteria use and helps feed the asparagus. But with the polycropping method, they just plant anything everywhere. It's like organized chaos, and their plants are thriving. Their cabbage, their rhubarb. Again, it's like the size of a smart car. I've never seen rhubarb so huge, and they don't do anything. They just let it be, and they water with the water, but they cracked the code and they figured out how to do it. So, but this area right here, this is kind of my the polycropping. So this is the plants that they gave to us. They're thriving. They're growing. Are called. They're 4 feet wide by 8 feet long, and I got these from TNR. Right now they're like $45, but these will last a lifetime. You can put them anyway, and they're very heavy duty. And I want the plants to start growing chocolate, because one of these vertical gardens is wash. They spread. You got to plant them like 7 feet apart. But if you can grow them up as vines, have a nice tunnel, make a little aesthetic to your garden. But I need a watering. But no, we are they are just not. Yeah, so for right now, I get enough rain, but then I have little buckets at the edge of the house. I'm just getting a Home Depot bucket and manually watering. I do have attachments eventually to do drip irrigation. That's going to be, I guess, another workshop. But Spirit Farm, they use drip irrigation too. So basically, they have irrigation lines running over. There's a dripper or a hole every two, and they have 3 lines going over these rows, and that's how they water. Use drippers. That's the most efficient way to water your plant. You put water directly to the soil. Because if you hand water or spray, you lose a lot of water to evaporation. But when you give it directly to the roots, it's the most efficient way. The best thing to do is to lay your dripper and then cover the mulch. but we weren't at that phase yet. So I just said mulch. So first, eventually, I would probably just lay the drip line.
Because you have
Yeah, and when you drip, it just weakens the soil. It has a chance for the soil to really absorb it. If I were to hand water these mounds, there wouldn't be enough time for the water to infiltrate. It would just run off the mounds. But when you do drip, it's not gonna run off. It's gonna seep into the soil and it's gonna stay in the soil. So squash, sunflowers, peppers. This is our little polycropping garden. But then behind you guys, I guess we can grab some, if you guys want, we can do some broad forking. Anyone up for it? And then I'll get some shovels, start spreading compost to make little mounds like these. And then we have some straw that we can use to cover the soil. So I guess we can, so if someone gets some shovels, I can go grab, I think I have the potatoes and onions in the truck. So if you guys want to, yeah, we'll do that. And so we got to plant the trees too. So it's kind of getting hot. I think let's go reconvene in the shade. Let's hold up on this and we'll go back to the shade and we'll do the trees. Okay, yeah, where's the bottom? Yeah, brown forget, living compost, and adding juice also. Have a what is the flower one? Yeah. Then this one, the last one. All right. Got trees, shrubs, and some plants. Right on the scene. Probably over here. So, I don't know what type of tree this is. What kind of willow? There's one more word in there. Glow. This is a Navajo globe willow. This, you know, Fort Defiance Hospital. Is it the Soy? How do you say it? Yeah, these are all in that parking lot. They have a beautiful. It is a willow. There's different types of willows. This one grows very well out here. It has a mountain habit. That's why it's called a globe. It has a really uniform, beautiful habit. You don't have to from it. It grows pretty much well on its own. When it can handle our strong winds here. I planted 3 of these just recently. They're kicking off. They're doing really well. A globe willow can handle our alkaline soil. So even where I live, I see people planted these and they're growing. You can run into issues though because with the high pH, it's called iron chlorosis. That's where your plants don't get enough iron, and if it's high, it makes these iron inaccessible to your trees. So that's why if you plant trees, they start yellowing. It's an iron deficiency issue. But I would really recommend globe willows. They're awesome for shade. Some trees will have like dappled sunlight, like this ponderosa. You can see some sunlight on the ground. So with the globe willow, they'll have complete shade. These will grow about, I say about 10 inches, almost a foot per year. So if I plant this guy, what is he, about 6 feet tall? Once it takes, it'll start growing and it'll start making its own mounding habit. So globe willows, I think I've really seen them at Home Depot. Home Depot carries a lot of different trees, but I got this, all the trees we got polished trees. They're in Gallup, kind of behind Earl's. But you can Google it, and they buy, every plant they have will thrive in our area. Like if you go to Home Depot, they buy things that won't thrive in the area. I've seen, you know, trees that are hardy to zone to only 30 degrees. And I've seen people are buying them. I'm like, hey, don't buy that, it's gonna die. Or like blueberries. One time there was a whole table of blueberries and people were throwing them in the carts. So I'm like, they're not native, they're not gonna grow here. And the gardening associates aren't aware of how to teach their plants, how to know anything. And I like going to Holiday Nursery. It's a great place. It kind of can get a little pricey at times, but the staff, the crew is very knowledgeable, and everything they have will grow in our climate. So Navajo globe willow, this is an awesome tree to grow in the area. Next up is a very more uncommon tree. It's not native to our area, but it won't grow here. Anyone know what this could be? The type, it's not it's similar to an apple, but it's not like an apple. So it does make little fruit crab apples. I'm sure you want to eat by now. You guys heard of crab apples? So crab apples are edible. For the most part, birds love them, but crab apples are sour. So if you eat them fresh off the tree, they're tart. So crab apples will be, yeah. So crab apples are used for, if you want to eat them, you want to cook them, make jams and jellies. But that's what it's good for. The best thing about crab apples is there's like over 200, and these ones will grow in the area. And you have a little scientific name. This is called Malus dolgo, and it has beautiful white flowers in spring. So this is not only is it a food tree, but it's an orange, and you get beautiful white flowers in the spring. There's also 2 other crab apples. They're different types. One has a real deep fuchsia color, like beet. And those are hardy. So when you buy a tree, you look at trees, they always have a tag or information on the bucket. So this one right here, it says you want to plant it full sun. So you want to give it as much sun as you want. Water regularly as needed. Like, what does that mean? This is hardy to -50 to -50 degrees Fahrenheit. So this tree you can grow in Canada and it'll live here. But can it tolerate 100 degrees? You know, what it can get too hot? Well, the leaves start burning because it's too hot. It does stay full sun, but you got to take into account our climate again. Our sunlight here, it burns a lot of things. So even though it says full sun, it may be full sun in like the Midwest, but in our case, you might want to give it a little shade in the afternoon or in the evening. especially when it's younger. So this guy, since it has, it's beautiful. I want to plant it kind of where you can see it. It creates color. So I'm thinking this guy is going to kind of go back over there. That's where I think I plant it. But this is a beautiful. Oh, this is another. This is another type of crab apple. This looks like an apple tree leaf. This one, the leaves are a little different. And if you look, these leaves are actually a little more finer. You kind of see the pink color. Same thing, almost the same information. But now this one says plant to 20. Oh, it says it gets 20 feet high, 20 feet wide. It's just a plant in 15 to 20 feet apart. So a mature tree, you know, if under ideal conditions, this thing will get big. You want to give it enough space to get big. One thing we got to be worried about is our underground utilities, water lines. You don't want to plant your trees too close to those. There's a tree that grows all over the reservation. It's very invasive, though. I think it's back there. Well, it's the Siberian elm. You guys, that tree is? Yeah, the Siberian elm is a hugely invasive tree. It grows anywhere. Like, as long as its seeds can get situated, it will grow in very, very dry tolerant. They do washes, especially like along railroad tracks. It needs as much sun as it can get. And once it gets established, you're going to have a hard time getting rid of it because the way it spreads is through its tap roots. So this tree is just going to, a normal tree will just grow roots and it'll be fine. Grow roots, then it grows a big tap root, a thick root. It burrows underground. And you could have your tree right here, but then about 50 feet away, a tree starts growing, and then another 20 feet that way, it starts growing, and they're damaging to your plumbing, any underground utilities. They're awful, and especially foundations. I see these the Siberian growing. They like to like the house, the foundation. They'll get in there and they start growing, and they just start ruining the house's foundation. So Siberian elms are not everyone's favorite, but sometimes it's like you got to take what you can get. So at my place, it's very open. I do have Siberian elms growing, but I make sure that they're far away from my house. And I did have one get away from me. I had to completely cut it down because it was growing towards our water meter. Because all of a sudden by the water meter, I saw a sprout come up. And I dug down and there was a thick root, 4 inches in diameter. And I was like, holy crap, you know, it has to go. So just be aware. And I always say beggars can't be choosers because that tree will grow here, but it has to be maintained. And for me, I think the biggest downside of that type of tree, the elm, the Siberian elm, is when it gets mature, its bark splits in the summer, and it has a gross smell, and it attracts thousands of flies from miles around. So that's the downside of that type of tree. But, you know, it doesn't grow. You want a nicer tree. All right, get back to other. This is kind of been hot, so it kind of struggled, but it's still living. Anyone know what this tree this would be? Anyone see this type of tree? Maple. Yes, maples are not very common to our area. They grow more wetter regions, the Midwest and Northeast. So you can see the leaves, you know, it looks like a Canadian maple. This is called an autumn blaze. So there's really no flowers on this, but in the fall, you have the most beautiful, deep, like Ferrari red colors. The leaves, the green, they start turning yellow, and it looks like it's gradient. It's a beautiful, this is for fall. Interesting. And however, with maples, is they actually are more also more slightly acidic. So, right, we are a higher elevation. We do have richer soil, and when you have rich soil, like this tree. I don't know if you heard. I was saying earlier about the pine needles. Pine needles are awesome mulch, and they also acidify the soil. So just below this tree, soil is probably pretty neutral and acidic. So this guy feels like he's full time, hardy to negative 25 to 20 degrees, and it grows 50 high, 40 feet wide. So if you want to plant this at 30 to 40 feet apart. So this guy, he's in third wall. You want people to see it. Like when people driving by, I want to see a huge maple, red maple to draw their attention. So this guy, I think I want to put this guy with the apple tree over there. Looks like a topi area. Where the gardens are, between that and the apple tree, I want to plant this guy right there. So in the fall, people passing by, they can see it. So if you want to try to grow a maple, there are other types like they make maple syrup that comes from the maple tree, Vermont. Those can't grow here. Our climate's suited for that. But this type of maple, this can grow here, but it just depends on your area. So if you're Winter Rock, Summit, higher elevation, this should thrive. But if you're maybe Shiprock, unless you live by the river, this might not make it. But it should grow here. So we do have apple trees as well. Apple trees love it here. We also have cherry trees. I have it's called a Stella. It's a sour cherry. So has anyone ever tried to plant fruit trees here? How they turn out?
The pears are pretty good. They're okay. I don't know. It's just because of the wind, and I think it blossoms too soon, and then we get like that late freeze, and it's just like so. I don't know, but yeah, those ones that haven't fruited yet. I mean, they're big, but yeah.
Okay. But the cherry trees,
yeah, it's just like water.
Yeah. So his pear's doing good. Apples are okay, but the cherry tree's not doing so good. Cherry trees, there's two types. There's like a regular sweet cherry, which we see in the grocery store, and there's another one called the sour cherry or choke cherry. Choke cherries, they can grow here. They can tolerate our climate, our more poorer soil, but they still need help. But if you want to grow like a Bing cherry, we have some Bing cherries here. A rainier cherry, all those fancy, beautiful cherries, those aren't suited for our climate. You can try, but you're going to have a not that great success. Cherry trees prefer more richer soil, wetter regions, and they don't like cold weather. So let's say you have a bowl in your yard. If you, cold air stinks. So if you have a lower air in your yard, if you put a cherry tree at the bottom, that cold air is going to sink and it's going to affect your cherry trees. When we said whether you have those late freezes, cherry trees will tend to bloom a little early as well. So when you have so site where we're at, it's a gravel slope all the way down to the valley. So if I plant a cherry tree up here, if it does get cold, all that cold air is just going to keep blowing downwards to the valley. So I'm confident cherry tree can grow here. We got a Stella cherry, and I'm going to try a Bing cherry to see if it's possible. Because Bing cherries, I've seen them growing, but they're only at higher elevations. So if you live Winter Rock, St. Michael's, Fort Defiance, Bailey, a cherry tree could grow there. Now, if you live, I grew in Mini Ferns, Arizona. Right now it's really bad soil, but we had huge towering sour cherry trees there, and they can thrive in that hot, dry, windy environment. So if you ever wanted to grow a cherry tree, look into sour cherries. Those can tolerate it, but it's really, as a thing, they still help with host and planting. So it's perennial. Do you know what a perennial is? Yeah, it's like back year after year. So, not a tree, it's a shrub. So, anyone know what this is? Or have anyone seen this around? I see this in Gallup. Anyone seen this anywhere else? So this is called the Spanish broom. Um, it's drought tolerant. It can thrive in the area. If you ever go towards Zuni, South Gallup, where there's a junction before Ellis Tanner, these are growing there. They're not irrigated and they're huge. This has wonderful spring entrance. It has tiny little yellow flowers, and it was completely covered in yellow flowers in the spring and April, and it's one of the most beautiful things you'll see. This thing will get about, I planted one at the Navotech Vet Clinic in Compost about 7 years ago, probably about 7 feet tall and about 8 feet wide. And I planted it in 7 years. It probably grew about a foot a year. These Spanish broom, very drought tolerant to our area. Again, it can thrive in our poor soil, and let's give it some water. Once it's established, like once plants get established, they don't need that much water. Once this guy gets established, as long as he's mulched, he's probably not water at all. But those island plantings by Ellis Tanner, these are in there. And they're fine. They're thriving. And I tried my yard, but it died. I was like, what happened? I didn't understand what happened. So I think it was my soil. Something was happening. But this is a great plant to grow around the area. Very drought tolerant. Good spring.
You could actually shock the roots.
Funny. Yeah, so we're kind of talking about shocking the roots, but usually you want to plant your any kind of plant ideally in spring. Spring's the best time to plant your trees. It's cooler. They're kind of dormant. They're just waking up. Summer is like the worst, but like I want to plant trees, so it doesn't mean you can't plant them. It's just going to be harder for the trees to get established. Like the leaves it's so hot and dry, it's getting crunchy, and in the black pot it has to be watered every day. So ideally you want to plant in spring or fall. Spring is the best time, or you can, the ground thaws in the spring, you can plant. You should make it because we're higher altitude here, we're protected from the shade, so that's why I was confident that I can get enough trees and plants to do now, and they'll make it as long as you mulch them and have water, they'll be fine. But if you live in Chinle and where it's hitting 100 degrees, it's too wise to plant a tree now. You can try it, but you have to really watch it, give it a lot of water. That's the. You want to know what you call our one? It smells amazing. I'll pass it around. Well, here, pick it out. Give it a lick. No, good try. What they're having now, that's called a butterfly. It has beautiful purple spiked flowers, and it blooms continuously to fall. Some plants will only, like this guy, he only flowers in the spring all at once. After then, it's just green sticks for the remainder of the season. The butterfly bush, however, is going to keep continually blooming and flowering the whole summer season. You want to take a guess why it's called a butterfly bush? Yes, this thing is a magnet for butterflies. I just been having this sitting over here for a couple of weeks, and I've seen butterflies come out of nowhere. Those big elephant moths, even hummingbirds. They love this type of plant. Butterfly bush is not native to our area, but it can thrive here. It's drought tolerant. Well, once it gets established, I say after a couple of years, it will thrive, and it can require minimum watering, maybe like once every 2 weeks. It's very what's the word? It can do well here. But if you do give it supplemental irrigation, it's a lot. But if you like do it, give it a little irrigation. Our area, and it's a beautiful plant. It has great smell. I like to plant that near the walkway. Maybe if you underneath a window, like I like to plant it outdoors. Visitors or myself enjoy it. So if I put a butterfly bush way back there where no one sees it, no one gets to enjoy it, it's kind of perfect. That guy, I want to put him somewhere, maybe near a pathway. And that way, it's big, huge. Mature ones can get about way too wide. Yeah, it takes time for it to get that big. But that's a great plant to grow out here. There's also another plant that we didn't bring called Perennial, also resting phase. Those ones have purple flowers. They have showering green leaves. It's only the flowers. Those island plantains, if you see those purple flowers, they're all over. I think that Windrock McDonald's, they have a huge one. But resting phase is not native to our area, but it does its best here. Once it's established, it doesn't need that much water. And mine, I planted a bunch of them in my front yard. I didn't even amend soil. I just threw them in the ground, and they're huge. And they attract a lot of bees and butterflies as well. But they don't have a scent like butterfly bush. But Perennial or Russian sage is a wonderful plant to go out here, and especially if you're really limited on water. It's a very, very hardy, drought-tolerant plant.
Does it make it through the winter okay?
Yeah. The wind, it's a chance. Like, again, it got down to negative 28 at my house. They came back like nothing even happened. But they're all over. Lavenders love these seeds. So lavenders are it's an herb. It smells amazing too. It smells beautiful. Lavenders they prefer well draining soil. They don't like their roots to be moist. So you want to plant a lavender in a more sandy soil. If it's like these raised beds aren't sandy, they retain moisture. Lavender roots will rot. They don't like that. They like very, very well drained soil. So if you want to plant lavender, you can add sand to your soil, and it works really well. But lavender is also a drought tolerant tree that grows well here as well. Got one more. Right. But we are like very, very drought tolerant. Anyone know what this is? It's a yucca. This is called an Eisenhower yucca. The yuccas we see around here are usually the banana yucca. Like that thing can pierce you. It's very pointy. This is pointy, but its leaves have some. Ivory tower. This has a beautiful. It stays low growing. Its mound only gets about 2 feet, 3 feet tall, but then it sends out a spike that can go up to 7 feet tall. I planted this at Navajo Tech at the university, 2 of them in an island, 0 irrigation. It gets baked in the parking lot. They're huge. It grows really well. So yuccas, any kind of yucca, they grow very well here. Banana yucca. When Navajos, you make your shampoo, your soap from banana yucca. But with yuccas though, they grow very slow, especially the banana yucca. A long time for them to grow. This ivory tower, it grows a little faster, not like fast, but it can grow. And this is a great yucca plant. It's good for our area and thrives on minimal water. Kind of, and then the rest are similar. There's cherries, more crab apples. So that's kind of it for the tree we have. Now let's talk about how to plant the tree. Okay, there's the introduction. Okay, I glossed over that. And then, all right. When you plant the tree now, let's keep it small. Let's put the slope of it. Or with any tree or with any shrub, you plant it. Your so if I take it out of the pot, when you take your pot, out of your pot, this is your root ball. You see all the roots are kind of curling around the inside. if you just put this in the ground, these roots sometimes they'll just continue to compact and swirl around. You can break it up. You can get like a box cutter knife. You can cut it. And some people say only do 4 slits or just do a split and X on the bottom. I seen a video where the guy did every 2-3 inches, and he just broke the heck out of it. So there's a lot of different people saying different things though. You have to see how to find out. I just do 4 slits on the back and X on the bottom. But there's different ways you can plant it. But it's always good to try to break up the roots as much as you can. And when you plant, you want to basically the same level that the plant's at in the pot. You want to try to keep that as level as you're in the soil. This one I can see the roots exposed. I think it tipped over, so some of the soil came out. So I want to plant it about maybe an inch deeper than it needs to be. When you plant your tree, you want your hole to be a little deeper than the root ball. So when you dig your hole, you want to at least go a little deeper to break up that soil, loosen it underneath it, especially if it's really compacted. And then you also want to make a hole wide enough. You can either make it 2 times as wide as the root ball or 3 times. Again, it just depends on what the literature is out there. People say one thing, but I do 3 times, and I go about, for me, I go about 1.5 times as a root ball, and I go about 3 times, so I have a big bowl. So you can excavate a large bowl and put your tree in there, set up the roots, and put it in. Now, with any planting with any tree, you want to give it some compost. The best is that inoculate compost, but if it's inaccessible, it's bag compost. So I just use mushroom compost from Home Depot. It's like $3 for 1 cubic feet. I usually do 1 bag per tree. So after the tree, I put it in the ground. The mushroom compost is that nutrition compost, so you can mix it with your existing soil in the backfill. And whatever soil that you did remove, you can use that to make a well around your tree, like a little berm, and you make a bowl. And then that way, when you water, the water's just not going to run off. It's going to stay at root ball. After you plant, you got to water. When you first plant your tree, you got to give it a lot of water. Depending on the size, sometimes up to like 2 gallons. And when you first plant a tree, you're damaging it. You're pressing its roots. It's injured, so it's going to need care to come back. So when you plant a tree, don't be scared that it starts to droop. It's kind of a little sad. It's just going through some trauma, and as long as you give it some water, you mulch around it to keep the soil cool, it will rebound. But mulching is very, very imperative with any kind of plant. It regulates soil temperature, it keeps moisture in, and it just doesn't let the soil get baked. And mulching will decompose too and just enrich the soil in the long run. So when I plant a tree, I don't just put mulch in the basement. I also put it on the berm as well, because if it rains or if it's windy, that berm is going to erode. So if you put mulch on that berm, it's going to keep it covered and protected. So if there is a rainstorm, we'll be using straw. It's not going to erode that basement. So when we give it a lot of water, and then after that, you got to probably water it almost every day with at least 1.5 gallons. And then the second week, you can go every other day. Third week, every 3 days, and you can just kind of spread it out. So after a month, you can probably get down to like maybe 2 to 3 times a week. But if your tree looks sad, it looks thirsty, give it a drink. I wanted it yesterday, I didn't want it today. Want to give it some water. One thing you got to watch out for is you don't want to give it too much water. Some trees, they don't like their feet being that wet, so they can get prone to rot. I've seen people plant trees and they keep watering it every day, and the tree starts dying. It's like, oh God, it needs more water, but they're actually drowning their trees. So if you're worried that you're drowning your tree if it's not, pull apart that mulch, pull it back, just kind of stick your finger in the soil, stick it around, like that loamy, fine. But if it's like really wet and soupy, then you want to cold water. That's kind of how to plant a tree. Same thing with perennials and shrubs, with their root balls. You want to break up the root ball a little bit, dig the hole a little deeper, break up the soil on the bottom, make a hole wider 2 to 3 times, and just plop it in, add compost, native dirt, make a berm, mulch it, heavily water. And that's pretty much it on how to plant a tree, and we have some shovels, and we can start planting. But first, we're supposed to dig a gut. I totally glossed over that. So, sorry.
Hello everyone, my name is Jarvis King. I came from Sanders, a little bit south of Sanders, the Newlands area. Yes, yard gardening. This yard gardening. I started experimenting with many different ways of gardening from that time I learned a lot. My partner here, she found a website or TikTok and like, hey, like interesting.
My name is Toddy. I just kind of followed him in his gardening and everything else. This year, my first year of growing basket tomatoes, and lo and behold, I got 4 little tiny tomatoes. So that's my first, and we did do a garden bed. It's kind of striving a little, but it's a learning curve. It is interesting for my.
Hi, my name is Candace Shrub. Originally from Mariana Lake, not too far from here. I just moved back from Arizona from Phoenix, so just moving back and being back at my mom's. And stuff. Josh on TikTok, and so I found it really interesting. I mean, even during the pandemic, trying to do houseplants was definitely challenging for me. I'm agreeing with them, but I just want to come and really learn so I can start and teach my kids. This is my youngest daughter. Her name is Cadence, and my middle girl, her name is Molly. So, the brushes like this. Okay.
Hello, my name is Mara, and I'm here with Jeremiah. We're from Gallup. We're interested in learning how to garden and to learn as much as we can from here for what's next.
Yeah, my name is Virginia Charlie. The one that in Russia, 30 minutes west of Chimney, and I follow you on TikTok. And then with those things, I do gardening. So I have a lot to plant now. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Cindy. And I live and work in Finley, but I'm actually from, this is my sister, so we're actually from the same South Carolina state. So yes, we follow him, and very interesting to listen to what he does with his gardening. And I just recently built a house, but I'm trying to think what I should plant around the house and what kind of plant for the soil that we have there. So it's very interesting to watch you all the time, and just thank you.
have here from Albuquerque. In my yard into a garden along the side. That's why I was asking if you could use horse manure as fertilizer. But yes, I just wanted to learn more. I do follow on TikTok. But
hello, everyone. My name's Sal. I bring 6 we came out today. We followed what I do. I followed up. I live in the city. It is possible to grow a garden because I have a big bed. So it's so awesome to cut the seeds and watch it grow. Our pumpkins and our beets, our lettuces, everything's growing so awesome with this rain. And I would want you guys to reach out saying how do I build these beds, because I mean I was learning. I learned off of YouTube. I watched this guy's name is the YouTube channel is Bubble Peat, and that's how I got my garden beds off of. So I really reached out to the YouTube channel, TikTok, and it's really neat. I enjoy it. If you guys have any questions, you guys can ask me anything.
My name is Dorinda Bodie. I'm from around here, Casmarelli. This is my sister Tara. It's our first year starting the garden. Pretty excited about it. And we just came out here. She's the one that follows. Pretty nice. Learned a lot within the last few hours. That was something we saw. So it's been like a stream.
Hello, my name is Tara. I lived in Kansas for years. I'm here for a couple months, and decided we have a place in back of our house where my dad used to put out the sheep, and back there, big old space, and we're like, let's go plant out there. And actually, it's growing nice. This is our first year. Yeah, but really, make it bigger. We just I sent off a small part where we just started a small one. So we hope it's a deal.
And my name is Alta. I'm from Mariana Lake, and so, yeah, I've been wanting to do my landscaping and all that. And 20 it comes back and it blooms like that. It seems like it's being a little bit bigger than before. The shade on it now. Of course, I don't know. Another one that I planted is one of those the crawling junipers. One is dead. I'm not looking around. And we plant other homes, strawberries, and corn, squash, lettuce, carrots, you name it, we grew it up there. And soil was just great. We don't really know something. And I suppose strawberries, they still grow every year. You know, if you plant strawberries, it comes up every year on its own. I know we had real strawberries up there. And it's corn. I know the soil is no good. I did try to grow some squash and the soil. My squash did pretty good, but I had to pay real close attention. First, I was spraying on the leaves, potting and anything like that. And I put pots and flowers. This year, I just didn't do it. My daughter's the one today. I did. My name's Paris. I'm coming from Windows. My mom is from Richie, and my dad's from South of Bell. So Peat rang a bell, and my dad's family is actually right next to Peat Elementary, or Street, elementary school there, on Jones Ranch Road. Jones Ranch Road, yeah. Anyhow, I actually came here by chance. I follow you on TikTok, and I follow you, and I have a very demanding job right now. So I'm for anything as a Go Center. I volunteer for help. So 2 days ago, I Googled it. Show Center looked at a place for churro sheep. But I'm glad I'm here. I do garden. Well, I don't know if you call it gardening. I grow things that I use like regularly. I have kale, lavender, mint, parsley, catnip, and potatoes. I did have last week for some reason they just all yellowed and died.
Morning, everybody. My name is Brian James, and I'm from Red Lake, Old Red Lake Road, which is by New Mexico, but I currently live in St. Michael. And what's happening about 15 I have garden in the past, but this year I didn't do anything, so I'm to be here.
Like you can see, but like you said, I saw your post and seen it on the room because I'm actually supposed to be in Denver right now. So I had to put a fence in there. Got a poor garden. My garden does right now. They're doing great. But you guys all trial and error. Figuring out. Takes out the plant, like build a big old shade over it. And mold, like with some pine needles today.
Run that AI, you can stuff. I have and Larry and I have been there for 28 years now, and we retired. Place in Jamestown. We've been there about a year. In Phoenix, we had raised vegetable beds and everything grew. patient here. We just plant things and it's like, why are they dying? Why are the trees yellow?
Last several trees started to do real well. And we found out deer like the tree. We don't have trees.
We planted and they're doing real well. One day we walked out and they're just anyway, I do call you on TikTok. You know, I think this is a great idea, and I think this is a wonderful volunteer opportunity for us that want to help out. You know, so you probably just have to let us know, like, when you need help. And anyway, but thank you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Jay Huffing and my wife, Kristen, and we're from Cuba. Became good friends with Josh through TikTok, and every day he's doing something new, and I'm like, we have like before we have something similar to what you figured out. So he's bringing us like good ideas. And we have chickens now, and trying to do that whole sustainable thing. Everything's working off one another. So we're hoping to try to establish something. Next year, we're going to probably do a bigger thing and probably plant a few more plants. And we learned a lot this past year what we really didn't, and making windbreaks and things like that. But yeah, and my clients. I'm kind of running what you need nationale. Like nachher in das check. And yeah. Oh, yeah. Alta, are you good?
And I just texted Carol last night from Illinois. It's like, they were younger. But this is a quick question. I'm very excited to be here. I'm following you.
Huh? Oh, good laugh.
Hello, my name is Tammy. This is Tara, and that's Stephanie. Call her Stephanie for short. But anyway, I'm from Kirtland, Upper Fruitland, and Shiprock, and so we work with Dreams in a Charter School. It's a very small school out in Shiprock, New Mexico, and so we are, building up a garden at our school that is used for, food sovereignty that we want to grow it to. So right now we have 50 families, and so we're trying to grow enough produce in our garden for these families so to combat like the food inflation. And so right now we have about 10 raised beds, growing from like squash, zucchini, corn. We have okra that we're growing, and so it's just broccoli. And so this is just something that we're trying to do to give back to the students. And so we're here to learn, what we could do to, make our garden thrive and make it better. And so, we're just here to learn. We all follow Josh on TikTok, and so we're like, look at this, let's try this. And so, we're just here also learning and see what we can do to better our school garden and make it, a holistic healing place for our families and our community members, and a safe space, and also incorporating social emotional learning for the students, and just creating a space within the Shrub community in the Dream Next School.
So last one.
Hi, I'm Ramsey Yama. I'm a teacher. Laying around. I also teach computer science, and I was Josh's physics teacher when he was going to Navajo Technical University. I was a professor there for 9 years. I studied geographic information systems and technology. That was my second master's degree. My first degree was in civil engineering. My second degree is in master's of education for mathematics. I just thought I'd come out and support Josh. I've always supported all my students. Josh is like one of these that are doing a social media drive. It's very rare to see a student find like something like this because I watched it from the beginning. He was a manufacturing student intern at Low Tech, and I just watched him grow into this amazing gardener. Like I have a strong belief in like everything sovereignty for the Navajo Nations. One of the things that I fight for is data sovereignty. A lot of people are scared to share this kind of knowledge. Josh is a rare person to be on the reservation, a tribal member, sharing his knowledge. Because I've talked to a lot of Hopi gardeners. My dad owned a garden into the city where I was born, and I helped him out with his garden. I go there and I talk to him. He talks to me about all different kind of planting things that goes on there. I'm not allowed to share that knowledge. Like, I can't do what Josh is doing. It's kind of hard for me to do it. I begged the elders for me to try to do what Josh is doing. Josh is learning things on his own. I'm learning things through the elders, and it's kind of hard to do that because when it comes to data sovereignty, it's dangerous to share this type of knowledge with the world. Like, when you find that people want to profit off it, stuff like that. But the way Josh does it for this area and the way that he's like working his way and being careful about what he shares and how he shares it and making like unique choices like with trees and plants, doing all these things is just a unique path to follow. And I think it's awesome. And I'm just trying to do it with technology. That's what I'm doing. I do esports in my classes. I make internships with the Army. I have students going to internships in California and Maryland all the time. I really want younger people to do this because I have this knowledge that I want to share. I'm just not allowed to do it in the way Josh is allowed to do it because elders gave it to me and they entrusted me with it. So like when I teach a class, I tell these students about it. But to do it on a social platform, I am not really allowed to do that because of the way I learned it. Okay? So I just really love what Josh is doing. It's really unique. And you guys all coming out, that's awesome. I love that you guys follow him on TikTok. And I just really hope that he continues to do what he's doing here and share his knowledge with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. It's getting hot. Like we can kind of 11 in. So I guess we're going to start cooking hamburgers, hot dogs. We got a lot of fruit. So before it gets too hot, let's throw some trees in the ground. We can put them outdoors. We'll probably over here. So one thing I forgot to talk about was the garden setup. That's going to be for more food. So they were talking about food sovereignty. With the way things are done right now with large-scale farming, it's not sustainable. It's going to have to change, and what's going to have to happen is we're going to all have to start growing our own food ourselves. It's going to be the way to locally source food. A third of Navajos are people that live on the res, travel 57 miles one way on average once a week. Another third, every 2 weeks, they go to the off the reservation for food, and then another 18% only go once a month for food. And it's hard to get fresh fruits and vegetables. So, like over there, that whole plot over there, those are going to be rows of nothing but food over there. Where we're staying right now, this Cajun area is going to be for chickens. Next door it will be hogs, and then maybe another type of maybe duck down the road. Greenhouse over here. Over here, this whole swath over here. You know, the food forest. Food forest is basically this a lot of trees, very tall trees, little all the way down to the floor like little moss. So I want this to be a food garden. where people can meander through and whatever season to pick them. So in this area, we'll be planting the fruit trees, the apple trees, the crab apples. For the elms, I want you to get big. I'll probably plant one over there by the garden, by the topiary apple tree, and another one way back further on the fence. I don't know what's happening with the property, but we're going to be demolishing some stuff and building new. I'm not going to really plant too close this way. We'll be planting more up here and that way. I don't have a definitive say for everything, but if you guys want to open anything, what do you guys want to think? Where to plant? I kind of know for the big ticket items where these ones would go, but like for the glow willows, it can pretty much go everywhere. You got to think if you can get a lot of shade, which area can do you want shade where you want to sit underneath it? So like kind of over here, there's no space. So if you put a glow willow right here, it can get big enough and it can go. So we'll do we have some shovels. I think I have like 3 or 4 shovels. So maybe if you want to rotate, I would love for everyone to maybe get together 2, 3 and plant a tree, and then someone can tackle the next tree. And then we'll just kind of go from there. And in about an hour, we can get ready to eat, and it'll conclude. Anything else?
Our young people and children, so I'm really happy we brought the children.
All right, guys. Well, let's have a little break again, get some water, and then I'll probably we have 2 wheelbarrows. If someone wants to help, we can load up trees and wherever you want to place them, where we can plant. The soil is not too hard. It's been raining, so we can dig. I'll probably run around. Maybe if someone wants to get compost with me, so everyone can plant a tree, we can just dump some compost where we can plant the tree. We do have 2 bales of straw back. We'll also put that in a wheelbarrow, and we'll give enough straw, probably at the end when the trees are planted. Anyone have any questions on how to plant the tree? I kind of talked about earlier. No refreshers?
How far do you have to dig?
Ideally about maybe 1.5 deep. If you can't go 1.5, you can probably just mix it up, and then we'll just put the tree in, cover it, and then put that rich compost on top, and then we'll mulch it. So get some water, cool down, and then we'll start setting up the seeds and the compost. It's going to be fun. Yeah, there's shovels. So we're just trying to start placing where the trees will want to go.
Well, not the tree, so you want to do some onions and stuff like that?
I don't know if we want to do that. Kind of getting late.
It's getting too late for that? Okay.
Well, if you want to hang out on onions, by all means. But I want to start with everything.
Get the trees first then?
Yeah, there's something. All right, guys. So yeah, just a 5-minute break, get some water, and then we'll hurry up and plant real quick. Yeah, we have 2 in there. Okay, one has no.
We very come on. We're practically related. Look at the
Cousin, hey cousin. Yeah, Phoenix music. Yeah.
All the way from. That's farther than us. That's what we were gonna live there for.
So yeah, cool. I guess.
Well, the thing about here is you get paid when you get any trees.
My molly and some alignment.
Well, I guess I let it freeze. Walk them off. I guess.
I cut this.
Come on, done.
No, I know.
Or that one, the twin looks like wind cell. That really hard. So
towards the Kiwanis?
Yeah, right past Kiwanis Cat, 2 miles. Okay. There's a little private stand, and it's right there.
Glad to have a quick hike.
Oh,
yeah, that's where I'm actually over the hill.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, glad to have you, man. We'll have burgers and food going, and then. Oh, that's not worries. Yeah, I should have. See, I should have did this first because it's getting hot now.
Yeah, and I thought do the branding of the cattle and one fence line.
Well, I'm glad you came though.
Oh, I wanted to, so
just sign up. Yes. Okay, so I have everyone that did that. I have all the information. So now we have people starting. I can start doing like more newsletters and stuff. And
yeah, because actually when I was out there, one of the local ladies she drove by was asking what was going on here, and she didn't know. And she's like, "Oh, is somebody else buying out the trading post? Is it going to be raining and stuff like that?"
Yeah. Well, the word's getting out there.
Yeah.
The nutritionist stopped by from customer and said, I heard about this thing for them. Okay. Word's getting out there.
Yeah. Well, she's excited. And she said the furthest she had to go for food or gas was like, say, Crown Point or.
Yeah, because she works for the school. She wants to start buying fresh food. And into the culinary school, we're going to work with them. I want to start growing food for the culinary program.
Oh, right.
This is that. It's like a 9-year, 10-year project. So this is what?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, Hojo Center, all lowercase. Yeah. Yes. What should we do? We're just trying to chop up some trees. So get a wheelbarrow. We'll load up some trees and then we'll probably put more. I'll bring some. Drop and we'll put in a wheelbarrow and we'll start dropping off. Probably the trees for now. We can probably do the guest. And grab the like the potting. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Hey, what is it? Right. Yeah. Are you got? All right. Please. Go for it. Right there. Things that that's tree. Yeah, this is the long stage.
I think we're behind our table.
Is it like going well?
There.
The Hudson, the birds they were growing really well, and then it just died, and then it kind of punching like it was. It was big, and then it died. Sometimes it happens, but these, again, these are really good trips. All right, now we'll go there. Oh, regular apple. So this is be our food forest right here. First guy, the apple tree here. Probably just right. I don't mind. I guess over here. Yeah. What's that one? That's yeah. Let's just do them all on here. I guess it's just a roach. This is the apple. Apple's like sun. That's like full sun. What's the tag? So kind of tree right there, but the tag's there. How far apart? All right. I'll go get just that. Yeah. Two apple trees side by side. Actually, let's do a cherry. Yeah. Ooh, that's a lot, huh? No, you got it. Yeah, then we'll just put some over there. Maybe half, and then actually the whole thing right here. We're gonna plant some trees right here. Beautiful. Smell it.
That was a shrub, like the butterfly. I'm gonna do a high tunnel over here. So let's put that one. So yeah. Anywhere you want, just have her in this area. When it gets sick, there's some shade, which is not a bad thing. I thought you touched it before. You can go right there. Go like right here. Yeah, so that's a foot. I think it's berries. Sure, I know wildlife is food. I don't know if we can do that. Sorry, yeah, probably. Nope, that one. It's like, yeah, like rubber. Now for human consumption. Okay. Wait, like berries is nasty. Where do you? That's like, here. Yeah, that's it. So I would definitely put the compost and too. Put them on. I have a yeah, not going to that. Yeah. Oh, cool. Go ahead and score the roots. So like evenly 4, and then do just like just an X on the bottom. What? Right. Okay. Even I do it 4 times. Like,
Traditionally, is just
it just depends. Some people do it every 3 inches. Okay. Some people crumble it, and then on the bottom I do like an X. I don't care. Do you have a trade real quick? Can I buy that? That was for trenching. That was for trenching. That's the only couple I got. I think I only have 3. Yeah, we do. Half here, and then I guess the other half. Yeah. A yard or a barrel? Oh,
You said they sell them one
a
yard.
yard, about a yard. Well, it's kind of a yard because what I do is I use pallets and build a cylinder. Knee high and it sinks, so it's a little more than a yard. I can do high,
Yeah. Well, how many leather will you set up?
Oh, that was on 2 of the pallet side.
Oh.
$75. That's a fucking deal, man.
Yeah.
That is the best. Oh.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
You're I think I'm nervous myself.
What about it?
That is. Oh, you can try it. Yes, it's fish. Yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you for doing that. Oh, hi.
I was saying that. Thank you. Nothing, that's just fish. There you go. Let me see. I grew up.
Yeah?
Oh.
Did you come here? Are you younger?
Not around here, but out at Mariana Lake, in between Mariana Lake and the mountains. I grew up. Oh, wow.
Oh, the butterfly bears?
Yeah.
Yeah, they smell amazing. Translate into butterfly? I have to show with my one.
I would.
A lot.
They start growing. They have these little beads. Beads. So that's what. And I was wondering, like, how do you transplant that?
Hold on, I got it. Streets on site.
Okay.
But yeah.
We did nice, right?
Alright, looks like we have a couple of people planting trees. No, absolutely volunteers. We were compost.
Because what's good? My first tree is in that.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's what I got. The trees are a little bit.
You Navajo? Yeah, I'm Hopi and Navajo. But my dad's family is Hopi, so when I was younger, I used to help with the gardening. And my other family, my Navajo family, my extended family, they also have a garden. I'll go down and help them weed and plant.
Do something about it. I'm using the people.
Yeah. So all four times.
He's one of those. I like that he's really.
I've heard that they can do.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna get trouble. I'm back.
Yeah. That's really hard to hit. But you're digging in it, huh?
yeah.
You need one of those, yeah, something. Too hard on me. Well, it looks like it's in here. Ready, ready. Oh, yeah.
I was saying that there's that rock right there.
Uh-huh.
If you look at it, it looks like a chief facing that way. Then at the same time, it looks like a bear.
There's a, I think it was a hawk or eagle flying pick up, floating in the wind.
Yeah.
When you guys were watching the top of the trees.
Yeah. Where I grew up, we have rock. Something big.
Yeah.
That's the one that's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're usually okay.
We have our own Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And you could actually see like faces on there. Are you going to the bubble? Like the other day we were driving down right there and just that before you go down. Holy kids out. Look at John Wayne and Peggy's. Oh, down the canyon.
Yeah.
As you're going down by church, that side, there's that pyramid.
Yeah.
There's a pyramid. I'm sitting there holding the baby.
Oh.
You look at it. That pyramid that's right there. That's what you see. Sitting there doing their blessing early in the morning.
One more.
Come on, we are fine to go.
You think they got it there? Everybody's You got
Use your hands, Stephanie. Are you done? Are you happy?
So they get spread it out left side. How I paint it. Yeah, your apple tree. The little quote, but like, if you want that, not like so organized. Now we got to do it. What's now?
Right here?
So, give me, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And then there's a hose.
Yeah, I think we're good now. Alex?
Guys, we're back.